welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And this is Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by the Nuzzle. The Nuzzle is a breastfeeding aid that will stay with you through your entire nursing journey and beyond. It's a moist heat therapy and cold compression therapy compress wrap. We will hear more. Oh, no. Today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. I almost forgot. Fairhaven Health. No. Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm is your organic and lanolin-free answer to sore and cracked nipples. And now we will hear more from our sponsors later. But these sponsors make our podcast possible. So please head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check out our sponsor page. If you need anything or want anything, check there and see if you can give any of your business to our sponsors. And while you're there, scroll down and enter your email address and get episodes sent right to your inbox. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
And this came to us via Gmail, and it's from Caitlin. Excuse me. Got my morning garbly voice working
It's early.
Today. I know. She says, wow, where to begin? You ladies have truly changed everything about my breastfeeding journey. I am 6 months in so far. I just so happened to stumble across your podcast when my baby was taking an extra long nap. You ladies have truly given me the confidence to be an amazing breastfeeding mom. On the other hand, how about the information you ladies share? Damn, I feel amazing having so much knowledge and being able to pass it along. I just want to say thank you so much for being part of my journey. P.S. I've been wanting to become a doula, and thanks to you ladies, I have the confidence to do so. P.P.S. I completely agree with all the bullshit info people share. I follow a few groups on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my Lord, you people need the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast in your life. Thank you very much. I love this review.
I love that she called herself an amazing breastfeeding mom.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Awesome. And I'm so glad that she found us and that the information she's sharing, that, information she's learning, she's sharing. And we are going to talk more today about the bullshit info people share.
Yeah, totally. Especially the medical side of things.
This is one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. And Dianne has a nice insight into this because you work in a pediatric office.
I work in a pediatric office, and because I work in the pediatric office, I can pretty much reel in some of that info. So that's pretty good. But when I see a lot of private practice people, that's when they'll be like, oh, my doctor told me blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes people will email us all the time with questions. Yeah. That's where one of them came from today too, was somebody emailed me and was like, this is what, my so-and-so told me, fill in the blank, doctor, nurse, dietitian, whoever it was. And I'm not sure if I should, I'm not sure what to do. Is this true? So we hear a lot.
So to preface this, so we're talking about medical information today, and the medical professionals, the doctors and the nurses, it's important to remember, which if you listen to this podcast, you know by now, that they do not get lactation training in their curriculum. Maybe they get around, on the labor and delivery floor or something like that,
right,
in their training. But they don't actually have lactation training like a lactation consultant would have. So they're not just being mean, they're trying to provide information based on education they don't have. And, sometimes it just comes down to this is what they've always told people. This is what they heard from their supervising doctor when they were in school. This is their, opinion, so we're here to just kind of take some of that you might hear and give you the right information.
And some of it too, I definitely want people to realize that maybe your pediatrician or your OB or your midwife has given you really good advice on breastfeeding, and that's fantastic. But maybe you have to go to, say, urgent care or the ED for something.
Yeah.
They probably will not give you good advice. Unless Abby said they had some kind of special training somewhere along the way. But that's, and nobody means to be malicious about this. I really think they think that this is the right information.
Right, of course. Or they wouldn't say it. Yeah.
Right. Or, I don't think they're telling you stuff just to tell you stuff. I think that's what they really think is true.
No, and some professionals have gone the extra mile and gotten,
Oh yeah.
become IBCLCs or just keep up with breastfeeding information, have just found it important in their practice to stay up to date with that or get extra information. So if you're getting good information, that means that person sought that information out.
Yeah, it's
And that's
fantastic.
great.
Or she could be a breastfeeding mom herself, maybe your
Right.
provider. That's always a thing too, obviously. But these are specifically things that we got that could be very damaging that we have heard.
Right. Yeah. Because some of it is not good.
No, some of it is.
All right, let's go. What's your first?
Okay. My first one is I had a mom come to me in private practice. I saw her with both of her babies. So this was baby number 2. This happened just a couple of months ago. And the baby spit up blood at her.
Oh my God.
I know, it was very scary. At the babysitter. So it wasn't even like she breastfed and maybe, had a cracked nipple or something like that and ingested some blood while she was breastfeeding, which we know can sometimes happen. The baby had a bottle and spit up blood. So it was very scary. So she picked up the baby from daycare, went to the emergency room, and they told her, they ran some tests or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is they did. And they told her that the baby probably has a milk protein allergy, which means that she's allergic to breast milk. And it's like, it was a little baby boy. So basically this doctor told her, the doctor in the emergency room told her, your baby has a milk protein allergy and he's allergic to your breast milk. Those are 2 completely different things. Like, first of all, you can't be allergic to breast milk. Like, it's just not that. You could be reacting to something in the breast milk, which isn't even that common, but you cannot be allergic to your mother's breast milk. Like, you can't grow in your mother's body and then be allergic to her breast milk. Like, it just doesn't work like that. That is not something that's going to happen. And thankfully, she knew better. And she called me and said, this is what they told me, because of course they're telling her don't breastfeed, like the whole thing. But being allergic to breast milk.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, actually.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But that's not what she was really scared.
But then
that's
they
not
say,
what you need. Oh, so it's your fault because it's your breast milk. So that's why this happened. No,
right.
Tell her
and
that.
Usually the answer is to put the baby on formula, which is like not the natural food. It doesn't make sense that so you're allergic to breast milk. So we'll put you on formula and then it'll be fine.
Right. No,
that doesn't make any sense.
It does not. No, not at all.
So why was this baby spitting up blood?
They never really got down to the bottom of it. She ended up taking him to a GI doc, which of course they gave her when they said go to a GI doc. The one that they referred her to had 3-month wait list or something.
Oh God!
So I knew of a different.
So they
one.
weren't terribly concerned.
No, obviously not. But I knew of a different one that could get her in the next day, and she went there, and they did more workups and stuff, and they're really not finding anything, which is good. Like, that's what you want. You don't want them to find any problems.
Those weird flukes. Yeah.
Yeah. And the GI doc was like, don't stop breastfeeding. This is,
good.
That whole thing. So really was supportive in what she was doing. But if she didn't know better, if she had just gone there because, to the ED and took that doctor's advice, that baby be on formula, and she would have stopped breastfeeding.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So that's my first one.
Should we switch off or do you want to just go?
Yeah, I could do my next one because this one's really fun too. Okay. Oops, hold on just a second. Like we're talking on the phone. I'm like, hold on just a second.
Yeah, I'll play some music.
I dropped my piece of paper that had all my stuff written on it. So this one came from another one from my private practice where a mom came in. The baby was, when I saw her, I want to say the baby was 4 weeks old when I saw her. And she said that she was a first baby and was nervous about constipation because, sometimes breastfed babies don't poop all the time. Right. So she was worried about constipation because the baby wasn't pooping that much. She went to her pediatrician. And at the time that this happened, when she went to the pediatrician, the baby was 2.5 weeks old. 2.5 weeks old. That's a really important part of this story. 2.5 weeks old. Afraid that the baby was constipated. Pediatrician told her, give the baby a 1/2 ounce of prune juice 4 times a day to a 2.5-week-old baby. And I was like, what? And she goes, I go, did you do it? And she goes, I did it once. She goes, but it seemed like a lot. And I go, that's because it is. It's a lot. So her mom instinct kicked in and said, no, this isn't the right thing to do. But that is really, like, that's a really young baby to be giving anything other than breast milk. Plus, it's against the American Academy of Pediatrics to even say, like, to give anything other.
It's really very important for gut development that you only have breast milk in the belly.
How about educating the mom that breastfed babies sometimes don't poop every minute of every day, and that's okay.
They don't know that.
Right.
They don't know that. They think that the baby's full of crap. They just got a big solid turd in there, and the baby can't push it out. I mean, there is no big solid turd inside your baby.
No, breastfed babies don't get constipated. It's just not a thing. But I felt so bad for her that she was like, yeah, I did do it, but I just wasn't. And that's got to be like, and I think all of us have been to this place where somebody gives you advice on something and you're like, oh, it doesn't quite sound right, but I'll do it because it's somebody that should know. And it just feels really uncomfortable. You know, it feels really uncomfortable to follow advice that you feel like might not be right.
Yeah.
But you just don't know what else to do.
Right. Yeah. Because your doctor is telling you and your doctor knows. So it must be right.
Yeah.
But that goes along with one of mine, which was give baby water.
Oh.
When they're hot or when you think they're dehydrated or whatever, is to just start giving them glasses of water.
Yeah. We had actually
we don't need to do that. That's not how we stay hydrated.
No.
Breast milk.
I mean, your breast milk has quite a bit of water in it, but we had a pediatrician.
Water.
Yeah, we had a pediatrician in the practice that I work at, and he was just kind of like filling in. And it was old. He was an older pediatrician, and he told somebody to give the baby water. I was like, wow, what?
And no.
Breast
milk.
Plus, yeah.
Breast milk.
Plus, it is taking. I mean, think of how small. First of all, how small your baby's stomach is, and if you are filling it with something that doesn't have any nutrition, like water. That's dangerous. Or prune juice. Right. Plus, your baby doesn't have the kidney function to break all of that fluid down either.
Yeah.
So that can be pretty dangerous. So we don't want to be putting all kinds of crazy stuff in their system. So just yeah. My grandmother asked me that too once. I remember when she asked me, do you give him any water? When my son was like, a baby. And I said, no. And she goes, well, isn't he thirsty when he wakes up from a nap? And I said, well, I'll just give him, I'll just breastfeed him. But I didn't know any better. I didn't know, but I was like, no, because I hadn't heard that before. But she was, my grandma who was born in, 1920 or something. So maybe that's what they did.
Yeah. I mean, obviously still do because people say this. People say this all the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Especially in hot weather and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you got to give them extra water.
Or the hiccups.
You don't.
When your baby has the hiccups, which happens like 15 times a day when they're newborn.
Oh my God. Exley has the hiccups 20 times a day. It's so annoying.
Still,
like something's wrong with it. Oh, yes. Yes.
My God.
It's like interrupts us going to sleep. He just gets the hiccups. Every time he giggles, he gets the hiccups. Anytime he's like, chuckles or anything.
My God.
He just gets the hiccups. So freaking annoying.
That is annoying. Poor Exley. I would hate my life.
Yeah, I know.
I would.
And honestly, they don't seem to last very long. It's not like, I can't get rid of these hiccups. Like they go on for a little while and then they stop. Which I feel like if I get the hiccups, forget it, man.
Oh, I know.
That's like what I'm battling for half the day.
It's the worst. I try to do all these weird breathing exercises.
Yeah, I know. And you're upside down and you're like plugging your nose and plugging your...
I know. My husband one day was like, are you in labor? Like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to get rid of these hiccups. It was just like, I hate it. But
anyway, yeah.
Don't give your baby water. That's pretty much the bottom line. Yeah.
Just breast milk is good. They're fine.
Milk, yeah. My next one was an email that I got this week. And I was like, oh my gosh, perfect timing, that she has a 14-month-old and was told by a dietitian that if she didn't give cow's milk, the baby's brain wouldn't develop.
I'm
Now,
sorry.
and she kind of said, like, you know, she didn't say she said, if you don't give milk, your baby's brain won't develop. But she said, you know, do I have to give her cow's milk? I really want her brain to develop. So I'm assuming that that's what they told her, because how would you get from one to the other?
Right. I would never have made that connection if somebody didn't tell me that. Somebody didn't freak me out like that.
Right. So I was like, no. Like, what do you, because she's like, I don't want to give her any lactose at all. She's like, I don't, you know, give my baby any lactose. And I'm like, no, plenty of people don't give their baby whole milk. What about the actual children, the legitimate children who are lactose intolerant? Like, because that really does happen.
We're all lactose intolerant, by the way.
Yeah, we all are.
We are not cows. And I will tell you, if you do not give your children cow's milk, they are in danger. They are in danger. They will never learn to moo.
They will never moo. They might not grow a third stomach. They
won't. They won't go moo. Now, look, if you drink milk, fine. If it settles with you, fine. But you don't need it. You don't ever need milk from another species.
Right. It's totally
you don't need it.
And especially, you don't need to be scared into giving it to your child if it's something that doesn't work for your family.
What an insane thing to tell somebody. Your brain is not going to develop unless you drink the breast milk of this other mammal.
It's insane.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's insane.
Cow's milk is so normalized here that we don't even see how it doesn't make sense until you see it. Then you're like, I can't unsee it. You know, it's like weird.
I know, but I'm like, and when I hear stuff like that, especially that, like, the crazier it is, I'm like, am I wrong? You know, like, is there some research somewhere that I don't know about? And I'm typing my answer to her and I'm like, God, I hope I'm right. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, think about this logically here. I had to really stop myself and be like, think about this logically. There are a zillion human beings around the world that do not drink cow's milk on a daily basis. Are you telling me that none of us were just a bunch of we're a bunch of zombies? Like, we don't have any brain development because we didn't, you know, we're like the Walking Dead. Is that what we are now? Because we didn't drink milk when we were.
Well, some of us are, but it's not because of that.
So, yeah. So those are my biggies. And then, of course, the nursing cavities. But we talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that after we have a break.
Yes.
Let's hear from our sponsors, our wonderful, fabulous sponsors.
Woo!
Today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. If you're struggling with sore nipples, you need pain relief fast. And when sore nipples turn to cracked nipples, forget about it. It's enough to want to call it quits. Damaged nipples can cause real problems with successfully breastfeeding your baby. Check with a lactation consultant that your baby is getting a good latch and get some Milky's Nipple Nurture Balm. Nipple Nurture Balm is formulated to soothe, protect, and heal sore or cracked nipples. This nipple balm is made with organic herbal ingredients and combined with natural moisturizers to help provide relief and to heal affected areas and even prevent cracks from reappearing. Nipple Nurture Balm alleviates the discomfort so the joy can be restored to your special bonding time. It is safe for both parent and baby, and there is no need to wipe it off before breastfeeding. Head to fairhavenhealth.com. That is FAIRHAVEN health.com, fairhavenhealth.com, and use promo code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase there. And today's episode is also brought to you by The Nuzzle by Mama's Milk Wrap. The Nuzzle is a non-ingestible breastfeeding aid that will stay with you throughout your entire nursing journey and beyond. It offers a moist heat therapy and cold compression therapy. It wraps around your body and connects in the back with adjustable straps. Heat it up in the microwave, then align it to your nipples for hands-free pumping with heat therapy to aid in the letdown. Women are reporting that their milk output increases, sometimes doubles. The Nuzzle's patent-pending design conforms to your body. For cold therapy, simply put it in the fridge or freezer and apply the compression therapy. The cold helps to soothe early postpartum swelling and sore breasts. The wrap can be used anytime for any part of your body, beyond breastfeeding too. Each wrap comes with a one-time 30-minute lactation consultation with an approved lactation expert. Check out the Nuzzle by Mama's Milk Wrap at mamasmilkwrap.com. That's mamasmilkwrap.com, and use promo code BADASS for 10% off of your purchase. And the Nuzzle can also be found on Amazon and Walmart. These sponsors and their promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Our show notes also include further information about things we talked about in this episode. And at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you can find all of our other episodes, breastfeeding resources, and information about scheduling your very own online lactation consultation with Dianne. And today's shout out of the week goes to Black Women Do Cloth Diaper. This is, you can find them on Instagram at Black Women Do Cloth Diaper. And it's, if you cloth diaper, obviously you'll love it. But even if you don't, this is full of just Black women stories, families, Black joy, information about breastfeeding too, and pregnancy and cloth diapering and bottle feeding and everything parenting, baby related, and just amazing, beautiful photos and inspiring and empowering information. So give them a follow. Black Women Do Cloth Diaper.
Awesome.
And that's all. What were you talking about? Cavities.
Cavities. And and what you got for your...
Oh, yeah. I have a list too. So, cavities, we've had episodes about this. That's not true. Breast milk does not cause cavities. If anything, it helps protect your baby from cavities. But cavities are going to show up whatever you do. It's really genetic. It's really something that's, whose teeth did they inherit?
Yeah.
So I have some. So, I was told in the early days of my early days, like literally like my first day of breastfeeding, I was told that supplementing with formula was going to help my milk come in.
How does that work?
Aid in breastfeeding. Yeah. So I didn't know. I was just like, okay, but that's not true. Because obviously we want your baby at the breast, suckling at the breast, to be regulating your milk supply. If you're filling them with other things and they're away from the breast eating somewhere else, that doesn't help breastfeeding. That actually hurts breastfeeding.
It's not going to do anything.
It's not going to do anything except cause problems where your milk is, not going to be coming in. It's not going to be, could have low supply, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's not a good advice.
No,
that's a flushable advice right there.
That's flush it. Yeah. And if you're in the hospital and people are telling you this, it's so hard because they're just like, what they told me was my baby was hungry and my milk wasn't coming in and my baby was crying because he was hungry. So like I was really backed in a corner, because I didn't know that wasn't true. I didn't know that my baby only needed like literally drops from me at that time.
And it's a horrible feeling. Your baby's hungry and you're not giving him anything.
Right.
Oh my gosh. It's terrible.
And then they left, we left the hospital with the instruction, with a garbage bag full of formula and the instructions to breastfeed for 10 minutes on each side and then give a bottle.
Ugh.
And then I got home. So I'm doing that day and night, constantly freaking out. And, no instructions, no further instructions, So I had to seek that out, but that's another story. So that's, problematic. Yeah. So, if you went through that, you're not alone. If you're pregnant, try to find a lactation consultant that you can contact maybe before you have your baby and get that connection going now so that when you do have your baby, if you're running into problems, you have somebody to call immediately right then, even if it's day one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because not everyone in the hospital is going to be helpful because let's remember that the hospitals and formula companies have a relationship. And so their protocol, the regular protocol in a hospital is to just give everybody formula.
And I worked in the hospital. They don't all have lactation training. The lactation consultants did, but the nurses didn't.
Yeah, but even the lactation consultant is still working within this system that is tied to these formula companies, so
they have
you're
protocols.
still going to get wrapped up in that.
Yeah, it's a really difficult place to work I could never go back to a hospital because of the protocols.
Yeah.
It's just really, it's really hard to fight that.
Yeah, it is. It is as an employee. I mean, as a patient, I mean, it's really, almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but I mean, it's not something you want to do when you just had a baby.
No, and we get a lot of messages from hospital nurses telling us that, they're so grateful for the information because they really didn't get much at all. And they want to be able to help their mothers.
People who can really pass it on.
Yeah.
And advocate for their patients, which everybody wants to do when they have the information.
Right. And that's what you go into stuff like nursing for.
Right. Exactly. So my other one is medical information. You might hear from your doctor, you probably will at some point, that about some sort of medication or surgery that you need to stop breastfeeding. They'll say, okay, you're going to have this procedure, you're going to be on this medication, you need to wean. That's not true. Most medications are safe. You can even, depending on what situation it is that you need medication for, whether it's for a surgery, it's for some kind of procedure, or just mental health issues or something, there are multiple medications out there that you can choose the one that is safest for you, safest for breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And that's something, the information you can get through like LactMed or Infant Risk Center. Or if your doctor doesn't have it, because sometimes they don't. They're just like, you have to wean.
They just say don't do it, just because it's a liability on their part,
Right.
This comes up a lot. And we did an episode on this, I don't know, a little while back. We'll link it in the show notes. Talking all about the medication piece, because it is something that does come up a lot. And you don't really prepare for it because you're not thinking, okay, I'm going to end up needing some kind of surgery or some kind of something while I'm breastfeeding. But it does happen where, you even see this with like dental procedures. I've had a lot of moms be like, I needed this dental procedure while I was pregnant, so they held off until after I had the baby. And now they're saying that I need Novocaine, I need this, I need that. I need to have painkillers afterwards. And I can't breastfeed. I have to pump and dump. I'm like,
oh God, don't.
That's not necessary. But of course they're automatically saying that because they're thinking, oh, we can't give this mother this strong medication. It's going to go straight to the baby. But that's not what happens. That's not how the medication works. It's not how medication and breastfeeding work. And you have to also consider the fact that when you have a baby, they give you quite a bit of medication. Whether, if you have a C-section, they're giving you painkillers afterwards. They're giving you pain medication and you're breastfeeding. Right. Epidural, like morphine sometimes, like there's a lot of medications that are going on when you're having a baby. And then all of a sudden your baby's older, more stable, can metabolize better. You have to go have this procedure and they're saying you can't have anything. I mean, come on. Let's think about this logically. Right. We don't want to drug your baby, but we also want the right information to be passed around.
Right. We don't want you to interfere with your breastfeeding relationship, because that's, if you weigh the, pros and cons of everything, then continuing to breastfeed is the best decision.
And I've also had mothers that put really important medical decisions on hold because they didn't want to have to disrupt their breastfeeding relationship. And that's not fair either. You shouldn't have to do that.
Right. You don't need, when it's not necessary even.
Right. It's not necessary. So definitely, if somebody's telling you something and that instinct usually kicks in, like somebody tells you something and you're like, that doesn't really sound right. I don't really know about that. Like, get a second opinion for sure. And this could be somebody that you trust implicitly, but maybe they just don't know the ins and outs of breastfeeding. Not everybody can know everything.
Right.
I mean,
All right. And my other one, I have two more. One is feeding on a schedule. A lot
hate
of
that.
times you leave the hospital with directions to like breastfeed every 2 hours and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Just keep your baby on your breast.
Close.
We call it feeding on demand. Some people don't like that. Feeding on cue, whatever you want to call it. Just breastfeed. You don't need to look at the clock. Just keep your baby at your breast. And obviously you can go to the bathroom and stuff like that. It's not like you can't unlatch them. You're not allowed to unlatch them. But if you just keep them there as often as possible or whenever, do that. Feeding on a schedule just leads to issues with milk supply and
gives you a really pissed off baby.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, they will definitely cry more.
Yeah. And so the last one is for me is all of the information that you hear about trying to get your baby to sleep better, in quotes. So you hear like, if you're breastfeeding, well, top them off right before bed with some formula to help knock them out, or put some rice cereal, mix some rice cereal with some breast milk or some formula or something to just give them like a real heavy stomach to make them pass out.
Dangerous.
No, that's terrible advice. Yeah, that is not safe. Your baby's not made to pass out and to go into a deep sleep like that. They're not developmentally ready to do that, which is why they're not doing it.
I had a client once who, when I worked in the pregnancy program here in Rochester, and she gave her baby, and it was a cultural thing. She gave her baby rice in the bottle, rice cereal in the bottle, and her baby aspirated and ended up in the hospital. God. I mean, it's dangerous for several reasons.
Yeah.
But for her, it was a cultural thing that, family upon family member told her to do it. And, so that's what they did with their babies, and her baby aspirated.
That's terrifying. Yeah. So, I mean, your baby is unfortunately not going to sleep probably the way that you want them to. My solution to that is to bring your baby into your bed, and you can check out our safe bed sharing episode and how to set up a safe sleep space, which you can do, and get some sleep. Lay down with your baby and rest.
Rest sleep.
It's actually, was that last week?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Last week's episode. If you heard last week's episode, that's who we are. We sleep at the breast as babies. So, that's it for me.
So there's some good ones. So if you are listening and you have any, like medical professional, any kind of information that you say, oh my gosh, I would love to flush this, send it to us, because we'll keep a list running. And we do these episodes every once in a while, the myths and the flushable info.
Yeah.
Because it comes up all the time, and we want to make sure everybody knows, like, this is not good information to follow. So share it with us if you hear it come up. We would love to have it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.